Kamal Fernandez here from Kamal Fernandez Dog Training with another Lifting All Ships, my current video series where I've been talking to colleagues, peers, people within dog training and other industries as it happened that do online training and offer online ways of integrating or interacting with their students as a way to inspire and uplift people, not only from a practical sense of how we can deal with our students and our clients within this time, but also to give you messages from each individual about ways that we can be positive and uplift not only ourselves but our peers and those of us those around us, I should say. So I'm talking to my very, very good friend Alex Robinson.
Alex.
Yeah, Alex. He's that good a friend. I've forgotten his name.
Showing your age.
Yeah, Alex Robinson, my really good friend from New Zealand. I've known him for a good several years now, and he's a really, really good friend. Even the fact that we are in different parts of the world, Alex is definitely one of the people that I consider a very good friend, a very close friend, and somebody that I respect not only as a dog trainer, but also for his ability as a dog trainer and also a teacher and what he brings to the fore. He offers online training to his students across the globe and he teaches internationally. He's incredibly talented and has an amazing eye, so it's a pleasure to talk to him and to discuss all things dog training and to find out how he's doing. So Alex, how are you coping in the current climate? How is it down in New Zealand?
Well, I think we have been pretty privileged down here in New Zealand with our government and the response. We're probably pretty lucky that we're an isolated country, so we could kind of learn a bit about what was happening and then kind of get ahead of the eight ball. So we went into lockdown pretty early, but myself and my partner, before the lockdown, had travelled back from Sydney. So
oh, really?
we weren't feeling too well coming back from then. So we were basically instructed to self-isolate. So we've been stuck at home for the better part of a month now.
Right.
But I guess it's a bit of short-term pain for long-term gain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'd say we're probably headed to be our own little bubble within New Zealand, and life will be back to normal sometime this year.
Yeah, I mean, your government's been absolutely inspirational. Your PM definitely has been amazing, and how she's just drawn the country together, the way that she's not only conducted herself but guided the country through this very, very testing time has been incredible. Really, something that we should definitely take note of.
And nothing short of inspirational, I guess, and just the approach. I guess it's the Kiwi spirit as well to kind of come together and look out for each other rather than prioritising our own needs, I guess.
Yeah, that's definitely something. I think definitely that when I've travelled to New Zealand, that's something that I definitely always... it's the one country, I think there's a few countries that if I didn't live in the UK, I definitely would, and New Zealand is one of them because it's got such a homely, down-to-earth vibe about it. And it's not only that, it's a beautiful country. Anybody that hasn't been there, definitely go. The scenery is just out of this world. So where are you're based in Auckland, and what is it like? You've obviously got you're with Ben, your partner. You've got your 4 dogs now. How are you coping?
Well, 3.5.
3 and a bit. So how are you guys managing in terms of practicalities? Because you're not allowed to drive anywhere in New Zealand, is that right?
Yeah. So we can drive for essential trips, services, and if you need food, go down. But it's just one person at a time. And anywhere you can walk from your front door, I guess. So we're lucky that we're pretty rural. So we're about 25-30 minutes north of the city, but we live on just under an acre, so the dogs can kind of get out and about, and we're not getting under each other's skins so much. But we live on a long straight road, so we're lucky in the sense that we can walk out on the road and have plenty of notice of when to shift across to the other side. Not that the roads are that busy. But it's kind of business as usual for me, minus not being able to travel around. My partner Ben, he's having to work from home as he's in private banking for one of our biggest banks. So it's been an adjustment for me having to share my office, which is the whole house, with someone else. But we're getting there with just, keeping boundaries and communication and, telling each other into get lost.
You go and walk
respecting each other's space.
Saying about your dogs, obviously Alex is a fantastic obedience trainer, but I think him and I are very much in the same song sheet, in the sense that domestics and the way in which life skills are hugely important to both of us. So in this telling time, this is really where your life skills are going to come into fore. And I know
100%.
Sorry?
100% disagreeing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. In the sense that, I have lots of dogs. I can walk all my dogs on a lead. They don't drag me. They come back when they're called. All those basics underpin actually both of the way in which we lead our lives with our dogs. And I think this is really where your chickens are going to come to roost, so to speak, if you haven't put the work in initially to have a dog that has manners. Especially, there is the thing that I'm noting, I don't know whether it's the same in New Zealand, but there's more people obviously walking their dogs that probably wouldn't walk them quite so regular. So you're going to have more unruly domestic pet dogs. You're going to have people that, I've met several that they've taken it upon themselves to go for their Sunday stroll or Wednesday stroll or Tuesday stroll in the evening, when probably normally I wouldn't see anybody. And being able to have some control over your dogs, so certainly, being able to get them back and ask them to wait, etc., are huge life skills that are going to help you in this time. Any comments on that, Alex?
Yeah, I completely agree. We're seeing so much more foot traffic just outside our door, and we're encountering, people and dogs that we've just never seen out here. Little tiny Lhasas to Foxies to big massivey things that clearly have never left the property. So it's been quite nice to be able to walk down the road with my four completely fine, with these dogs quite frankly trying to haul their owners over to us, and I'm not sure that their response when meeting my dogs would be that appropriate, but it's actually a really, really good opportunity to work through all these domestic skills with your dog, because you're with them for more than, if you're with them all day, you're no longer working your full time, well, maybe not in all cases, but for those of us that are working from home or are confined, you're now not under the pressure to, get your dogs out for a run, maybe pop in some training if you've got, if you're in the right headspace. So there's lots and lots of things that you can be doing, and that's been a real godsend for me, I guess, that I've been able to devote some time just to reinforce those domestic behaviours. I guess for me, my dogs, I can control them when I need to, and they've got manners in the right places. But they're not always necessarily the easiest dogs at times, just because of my relationship with them. I'm always quite high energy and rah-rah, which can get in the way. But this has just been a great time to kind of just, maintain that domestic respect. And,
it just makes, especially like you say, Ben's at home all day, he doesn't want, and if he's working, etc., he doesn't want the dogs necessarily, jumping all over the, etc. And I know he loves the dogs and he's very, very tolerant, but there is also the compromise.
Very tolerant.
But again, 6 weeks in, that tolerance level is going to deteriorate, isn't it? So you need to be, I think it's a really great opportunity to tighten up on those core skills. So the dogs that you've obviously got Fix, your obedience champion, ASAP, who is in the equivalent of the highest level in New Zealand, with one more win needed to become an obedience champion. You have Sushi, your golden retriever, who's now, is she 2?
A month off 2. And you've got the little gremlin. I can't remember his name. Chewy, the little gremlin. So what have you been doing with your dogs at this time have you been focusing on different things? Have you been working on core skills? How have you been ticking your older dogs over? Well, I was blessed with Sushi coming into season at
nice.
a week into lockdown. So that presented itself with a few challenges. Now that Fix has done the deed a couple of times, he's kind of pretty well versed on what
to do
now. But even then, he was annoying, but compared to what a lot of entire male dogs are, he was really minimal. There was a bit of whining,
yeah,
but absolutely no change,
yeah,
really. They're at different phases of their careers or training now. Fix is pretty much just a house pet now. He does what he wants when he wants, as long as he, does the right things. ASAP's more in a maintenance kind of phase, so I'm using this time to tighten the screws and just reinforce, my criteria points to get us through for that last one in sushi. Don't really like pushing my dogs too much when they're in season, just because, quite frankly, we don't know what they're going through. There's obviously that instinctive hormonal drive mess, concoction, whatever, going through their head. So I got enough out of her, and so now, with that 3 weeks off, she's not a highly strung dog. She's a pleasure to live with, in all honesty, the amount of energy that she brings and training. But that 3 weeks off, she's kind of gone a little bit, loopy. So we're just coming back into work and getting that trotting fitness back, and then hopefully putting a few things together. And this is Fix next to me. He's just breathing on me.
Oh, we love a dog. We love a dog pic. So just in regards to Sushi, most people probably don't know. Sushi, Alex has had her probably about a year. Is it a year?
It's coming up to 11 months.
Okay, 11 months.
I met her today last year.
Oh, wow.
In the States.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So the backstory to Sushi was born in America, and obviously with the restrictions, etc., she was born in America and she was raised there primarily, and then Alex imported her into New Zealand, which is quite a big thing to endure or to ask of a dog, and obviously then had to start from the ground up, building a relationship with the dog. That she had a great upbringing. She was, there was nothing, the dog wasn't a rescue dog or anything like that, but she was definitely a blank canvas. And Alex had to start from the ground up, which I think sometimes with older dogs, especially at that adolescence age, can be really, really challenging. So just talk us through some of the things that you discovered with her, that was the pros and cons of working with, certainly because she's a very, very high drive dog as well, isn't she?
Yeah, incredibly high drive, and the field Goldens are quite complex creatures. You just have to look at what they're bred for and the conditions that they work through, how and why they're selected. And then her mum's a performance type breeding, so a little bit more fast twitch, fizzy kind of energy. So it's that was, an interesting base to start off with. But I guess it's for lack of better description, it would be like picking up somebody's project, 12 months in, or taking over somebody's painted canvas. You can kind of see where they're going, but you don't really know the layers that have gone underneath completely. There's certain things where I probably should have trusted my gut with. Like, I absolutely love my dogs bringing energy to a session, and all of that, but the reality is, with a dog like Sushi, I didn't need to get that out of her. I should have let her build into it. So now, some of our issues, I guess, are because I put quite a lot of value into doing when, I didn't need to focus on that. So now, I'm teaching her to just think about what you're doing and then give me some energy. So really, we just had to learn how to speak the same language. She's got a thick Midwestern Southern United States accent, and I've got a Kiwi accent. It's can't fault what her breeder did with her. She kept a litter sister, and to have a well-adjusted dog, that grew up with her sister and her mother, is no small feat at all. She had a little moment coming out of quarantine. She was like, "Oh my God, this is grass. Grass exists." And then she never really looked back. Never had a problem slotting in with my dogs. I just can't praise Sushi high enough. Just a really phenomenal dog. But yeah, the biggest barrier to our success so far has just been that we've kind of spoken different languages. And not to be cliche, but they're completely different to a border collie. You know, they're probably quite a lot more literal. Certainly an element where she'd just rather go, look, just show me what you want, rather than, you know, let me figure it out. So she can shape and all that, but when it comes down to it, she'd rather kind of just been shown what to do. So I fought that for a little bit, but then I realized, you know, there's really no point in fighting it. So, of course, since it's a weakness, I've worked on it to get it to a point where somebody looking in on a session wouldn't see that perceived weakness. You know, you wouldn't really know it's there. But yeah, it's been an awesome experience, and it's probably given me some insight with people probably starting, you know, training with me later on with their dogs. You know, that learning a different system, so I can kind of, you know, just have a bit more empathy in those regards. But yeah, the biggest thing for me, although she's presenting herself as a 2-year-old dog, I guess, it's just going, well, hey, I've had her for 11 months, so, you know, is she where I would like to see, you know, adolescent dog? And when I look at it that way, I go, yep, she's about where, you know, I'd expect that
11-month-old puppy to be, Yeah.
And so in terms of like heel work progression and stuff like that, like she had impeccable impulse control, you know, amazing crane manners, door manners, brilliant outs on her tug toys, and a great natural retrieve, which you'd expect from a, you know, a field line golden retriever. So, you know, that sort of stuff there made it incredibly easy to transition it into life. But just, the working relationship, I found, you know, bits that I didn't think would be there, and bits that, you know, weren't. But it's, been an amazing experience, not one that I would recommend people jump into lightly, just because you've got somebody else raising your dog, and just check your expectations. But I feel like I've got a little bit of a point to prove, I guess, as a trainer. And, you know, when people come to you for advice, I kind of have to say, look, I can do things that I'm, you know, telling you to do, and I can do things with, you know, a dog that I started off later, and now with Chewy, you know, as a Pekingese Chihuahua cross. You know, it's just about showing that it's not necessarily that I've got border collies. It's the training works. It's just that, you know, my Pekingese Chihuahua, I'm going to train him to be the best Pekingese Chihuahua he can be. He's not going to resemble a border collie or a field golden, but, you know, he'll be exuberant, you know, as far as, you know, those sort.
And I think that the really good point about Sushi is, you know, people that have rescue dogs or rehome dogs, it's accepting that, you know, when you have a dog of that age, you have to treat it like a blank canvas. You have to, even though it might be older, you have to treat the dog like as if they know nothing, and therefore build the blocks that you, the foundation and the building blocks that you want to create. And therefore, you know, you are going to hit little bits where, with any dog, to be fair, even if you have a puppy and you train it, inverted commas, the way that you want from day one, there will always be things that the dog's character will present that challenges. You know, like my Mallee puppy is going to be, she's just started to get very into chasing things, and she's very into birds, and she wants to bird watch, and she definitely would chase birds. So that's something that I'm going to have to, well, she's been I've had her since she was 8 weeks old, so there is no excuse. It's just largely, you know, genetics, her predisposed desire to chase moving things that I need to be proactive with. But at the end of the day, that's dog training, and that, as you said, makes you a better dog trainer. So you mentioned that you do online training, and you've been in the online world in various forms, whether it's social media or online forums, etc. You've been active for a while, and for quite a while. So what's the let's just say the Facebook groups that you think are really, really, for anybody looking to join a Facebook group for obedience specifically, or for just dog training, which are the ones that your go-to ones that you really like and recommend?
to be honest, over the last couple of years, I've distanced myself from online groups.
Yep.
But that's more, reflective of where I'm at with my life and my own training.
Yep.
Just because it's, a distraction.
Yep.
That I didn't need, and that was time that I could be, spending on my own dogs.
Yep.
But as with, any online group, you're interacting with people that you wouldn't ever
yep.
interact with necessarily in everyday life, let alone, in your lifetime. People have different philosophies and
yep.
approaches, and they're not always going to agree with
yep.
your moral compass.
Yep.
So my biggest bit of advice is to really just, sit and observe, and even probably an unpopular opinion here is that there's, something to learn from everybody.
Yep.
If you don't like it, don't do it with your dogs. But sometimes, with these compulsion trainers, they're putting up drills that the core principle is pretty good. Just take, the prong collar or the e-collar off,
yep.
and what they're actually doing is pretty sound. I mean, it's not always easy, to watch. So there is stuff to be learned everywhere, and you're going to encounter a lot of that sort of thing on Facebook. But yeah, it's just taking, what you kind of get out, what you see in the groups. The competition dog obedience group, that's probably one of the biggest ones. It's got a lot of probably more beginner training type stuff, but there are a few talented trainers from across the world that seem to post things there. So there's, bits and pieces to pick out.
Yep. I think that's a really valid, so interrupting you there, a really valid point of,
Go for it.
I've discussed this. I think everybody's gravitating to social media as a way to communicate and to keep them informed about the current climate. And I said you have to take a level of responsibility when you interact with social media, that you essentially should be in control of what you see and you need to police your own social media network. That's one thing, and I think that's what Alex initially said. However, as Alex also reaffirmed, is be open-minded about what you see in terms of, you are going to join forums. If you're going down the dark web and not necessarily the dark web, but you're going down the interweb and you're looking not that web, but just dog training. If you're going down the interweb and googling various dog training and joining various groups, you are going to see things that you don't necessarily agree with, and you might find conflicting to how you train. The key thing is to be mindful of how you process that, and to take allow everybody to have their own space and to their own opinions, etc., and refrain from being judgmental, but also being open-minded enough to think how can you adapt that principle to the way in which you train is one thing, but also Alex is very good at sharing different things on social media and on Facebook from a dog training point of view, to also share knowledge and to hopefully inspire people to do things differently. That's what the path in which I've chosen to take. Rather than pass judgment on how other people train, I would rather inject some positivity into the environment and show this is what you can do using reinforcement-based methodologies, and hopefully then guide people and inspire them to want to try things differently. And again, be open to different ideas. And I think social media is it's easy to get into online discussions, and so we say arguments over absolutely nothing. And it's knowing to just take it with a pinch of salt and police your own social media content.
Exactly. Probably a big point that you mentioned that really resonates with me is actually showing people that there's another way. I guess I'm getting a little bit of a presence in the States, and I'm a positive-based competitive obedience trainer, and I present seminars there. And although I don't train with prongs or electricity or aversives as such, I don't have no prongs or e-collars on my seminars as such. The reason being is that if somebody, and that's a corrective based trainer, is going to come to a positive obedience seminar, they're actually saying, look,
I'm willing to
here
listen.
to see what I can learn from
you. Yeah, absolutely.
If I, came out with a blanket statement and said, look, they're not welcome on my seminar, I'm actually shutting the door on that conversation. So by actually, meeting that person halfway, I'm able to actually say, look, here's a way you can do it. And some of these people go, don't know what you're talking about, mate. But then a large portion go, heck, I never thought to do it that way. That's awesome. I'm reconsidering my tool use.
And that's to me, that's the greater goal. It's not to pass judgment. It's, again, I've had that similar situation. When you teach internationally, you see a real spectrum of methodologies and approaches, and I think definitely in other parts of the world, culturally, it's very accepted to use aversive tools. It's very, very cultural to use different tools. I said, if you go there with the pretense of, that's it, nobody's coming on, etc., and lay down your by all means stand firm to your principles, and I definitely do that when I do seminars abroad. I say, this is how I train, and obviously you've come to see what I do, so there is things that I'm not going to compromise on, but it's not to put anybody's back up and to pass judgment on them, because I think if the greater cause is to change people's mindset about how to approach training their dogs, we need to leave the door open. I think definitely in modern dog training there's a lot of divide. There's the balance trainers versus the positive training versus the e-collars trainers versus the clicker trainers versus the how positive within the positive. There's so many factions. And 9 times out of 10, all you get is people just arguing about their being right. And you go, well, if you put your ego aside for a second and just left it open, and that's what, I make a conscious decision to, be very, very open to anybody that is willing to listen to what I have to say. And I'm very much clear, and I know Alex is this, I don't have all the answers. I'm not, I'm not perfect in my dog training. I don't profess to be the one way and that's it. I just know that this is what feels comfortable for me and the way in which I choose to train my dogs. And if you want to know more about it, then by all means, I'm happy to share that knowledge with you. And I'd say you're very similar in that mindset.
100%. Anybody who's, willing to let me talk. I'm gonna talk. As people will know. And it's just really, I'm here to share what I've learned, from everybody around me. Everything's inspired. I've learned a lot from you over the years. I look everywhere to my dog training, take a lot of influence with my drive building from, IPO, IGP circles, then the agility training, impulse control, stuff. Definitely. But, on the basis of it, IPO looks quite barbaric to most, but, what underpins that game for most of the successful people is confidence building.
Absolutely.
In actual fact, everywhere. You just have to be open.
In actual fact, if you looked across the board at all dog sports, their current theme is actually confidence in all of them. Everybody's aspiring to create confidence in their dogs. How we choose to attain that confidence or create that confidence might differ. And as you say, I think, I had a conversation with Janice Gunn. Obviously, Janice really well. She's a phenomenal dog trainer, and we're all similar in that we don't just look within our sport for ideas and options and solutions to problems that we have, and are open to being creative, and even looking at people that don't train like us and seeing if we can modify or adapt what they do to sit under the umbrella of what we do. So I think that's really, really good advice. So in terms of your own dogs, what are you working on with them currently, and what core skills are you working on with them in this restricted time?
Well, at the moment, I'm running a foundation heel work course that's in 3 series. So I'm in part 1. So for me, it's actually a really great opportunity for myself, because I'm reminded of, all the bits and pieces that I work on to get my finished product. So at the moment, I'm having a lot of light bulb moments myself going, that's, the piece that I need to put in here. So as a result of, working through that, my dogs are getting a lot of schooling on the basic competitive concepts, because, your obedience behaviours are really nothing without a strong foundation, and if you've got that strong foundation, when you start trying to put things together, it falls together really easily. And then when you've got that foundation to fall back onto, when you can identify problems in your behaviors, you can quickly see which component of that foundation is the problem, and isolate it and work on it and pull it back together. So sushi's really benefiting from that, because I guess sometimes what I've found myself guilty of, this might sound egotistical, but I'm kind of hitting roadblocks with her. I'm going, you're not just any dog, you're my dog. Like, why don't you know this? And then I have to catch myself in those moments and go, well, actually, when was the last time I went over this skill? Have I given the information that she needs to be able to handle this specific area? So that's been really awesome.
I think again that's really good advice for anybody. At the end of the day, I had pearls of wisdom from one of my early mentors that said you're only ever as good as the dog on the day. And each dog, she was it was Sylvia Bishop who said whenever she got a new dog, she'd always sort of have this little cathartic moment where she'd take them up into her room and she'd put them in front of the mirror and she'd introduce herself to the dog. And it was just a little silly thing that she did, but it actually was really, really poignant, because what it meant is that she didn't carry any of her baggage from her previous dogs into that dog's journey, and she saw the dog as an individual, which I think is such an important thing to take on board, in the sense that it doesn't matter if you've been successful before. The dog in front of you will present new challenges, and comparing it to, oh, this dog isn't, this dog isn't so and so, or like, I have my young Malinois, the easiest thing in the world, and she comes on the back in terms of my Malinois with my fantastic little Thriller, who was just a joy to train from the day I got her. And the easiest thing in the world is to say, to compare her and to say, oh, she's not Thriller this. And the ironic thing is, she's every bit the dog that Thriller is, and potentially even more so, by just looking at her as an individual, and I think that's a really, and I've got dogs, and I've got daughters of that a particular dog at Fire. I've got her daughters. Again, they're all individual. You have to work at the rate of the dog, and they're all not always going to get it at 6 months. They might not get it at a year. They might not get it at 2 years. You have to just ride out and train the dog in front of you. So I think that's really, really, really good advice. So in terms of your online training, what's the format of that, and what do you offer to people? How do they reach out to you? How do they connect with you?
So basically, my reach is only, that of my immediate Facebook circle, and then I put it on, the competition obedience list, just because it's a big page. But
what is the name of the site, Alex?
Pardon?
What's it called?
Competition Dog.
No, your online.
So I am working off my own personal Facebook.
Okay.
Just because this COVID-19 crisis kind of thrust plan forward. I was supposed to be heading off onto a big tour, of the States presenting, and then really I was going to really focus on my online classes in the back half of the year, if not, the start of next year. But obviously I needed to diversify, my income source as such. So, I mean, if anybody's interested in checking out what I do, they just have to find me on Facebook. Excellent. At this point. So I'm not being the best businessman there.
But you can train a dog, Alex, so it's all good.
Yeah, so I mean, what I'm making sure at this moment is that my training's accessible for people in terms of a money factor.
Yep.
As we're all hit by this, to varying, in varying degrees. So I run it on a Facebook group. The current one's getting pretty big. But everything is organised into units as it's a social learning group. So everything's super accessible to find by weeks. And so I offer a step-by-step PDF document that, has a little bit of a introductory essay as per, what we're teaching and why we're teaching. And then I offer a video demonstration with that as well. That's really supplementary to the PDF.
Yep.
But then, my working handlers, I guess, they give me a video back each week of the skills that they've been working on. But everything that I put out is really detail oriented, but it's progression of skills. So it may appear like you're not really working on much in the first week, but by the time you get to the third and fourth week, you're kind of putting these skills together, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's really what
sorry, interrupt you again. It was so if people want, is that a rolling join up, or do you have set times, or how, if they do want to reach out to you and connect with you and join any of your stuff, is it bi-annually, or is it twice a year? Is it once a month? How do they join?
So at the moment, anything that has run or is running, I'm just accepting silent auditors onto the courses at any point. So people can email me at quickfixdogtraining@gmail.com, and then we can kind of go from there. So at the moment, I've had an engagement course out, which is the underlying principle of what you need to be successful in any dog sports, and then a rear end awareness course, and then this heel work course is coming out. But with my training that I'm presenting online, I just really want to challenge people's perception of what a foundation is and what foundation skills are. I really, I probably take things a little bit too far in the sense that I've got a lot of detail and I need all those boxes ticked, but basically, it's an opportunity to work with your dog, teach them how to learn in a variety of different contexts, so that when you actually start teaching things that, matter or are perceived to matter to you, your dog's fully equipped, and it happens very quickly. So that's kind of, my challenge with the heel work training is just to show people different avenues to teach the, prerequisites for successful heel work.
That sounds. I know that you have a really wide spread group of people from across the globe that join that. So that if anybody wants to get in touch with Alex, I will share the information on this video, and you can connect with Alex. So in terms of your own dogs and what your goals are when normality resumes, what are your plans at the present with each of them then?
With Fix, he's getting on, so depending on where we're at when lockdown comes, I think really it's just getting him ready for one last hurrah in the ring. I'm fully prepared for the possibility that may not happen with him, and I'm completely at peace and fine with that. That dog's given me, I guess, the platform that I have, so he owes me nothing. And he couldn't care less if he set foot in that ring again. With ASAP, I'd really love to get that one last win to make her up, and then, evaluate where to going forward. We do have, the Grand Obedience Champion title. I'm not sure if I really want to pursue it with her, or if I want to, give her some time in the agility ring, just because, that's her favorite thing is fast. It's just running fast, and, it would be pretty cool just to, handle another squat. With Sushi, I'd really like to get her actually in the ring, and just, give her a taste, and give, I guess, people here a taste of, why I imported
that type of dog
bloodline into New Zealand. The plan was to breed her to frozen semen coming over from the States at the back end of this year. But those plans may be, disrupted a bit. Just, I wouldn't really like to be breeding a bitch just after 2. But when you're working with frozen semen, you kind of want to get in there before, peak fertility's off. So we'll just see where that is. But, I mean, realistically, I just want her, at a place, at a point where I could take her into the ring. And with the little devil, realistically, my goal is just to have a normal functioning little dog. He's certainly presented some challenges off the bat, And because he's half Pekingese, they're actually suffering from dwarfism. They've got all sorts of weird stuff going on, and at the moment he seems pretty sound and fine. So realistically, I would like to get competitive skills with him, and to a point where I could at least take him into the heel round. And just evaluate on the day, which dogs he'd have to be sitting next to for stays, because he's only 7.5 inches at the shoulder, so he's all of 18 centimeters tall at the shoulder. He's really
tiny,
not much. So his health and safety, welfare comes first. Probably going back into the online training thing. I think it's not trying to sell my own courses here, but I'd really encourage everybody to kind of reach out and see what they could pursue online, just because it's a good opportunity to add some structure to your day. You've got something to work towards.
Absolutely.
You can learn new skills with your dogs. And really, if you don't video your current sessions, it could be just that motivator to video yourself, because you'll be able to see so much.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Going forward, it's a great habit to have. And then it's, in terms of like a progression thing for yourself, it's great to be able to look back and see where you were at, a month ago, 3 months ago, 6 months. It's something that I always tell my clients, like, you feel like you've got to nowhere, but hang on, look where you were when you first came to me, your dog. You and your dog couldn't even be at a park without feeling like you were both going to rip somebody's head off. So, now a year later, your dog's off lead at the park while we're working on skills with dogs walking past. Like, you had a bad session today, but if you go back 12 months ago, you would have been absolutely elated to be where you are now. So it's a great way to keep perspective.
And like you said, I think it's good. Certainly in this current climate, to keep yourself motivated, keep yourself upbeat, and to for certainly for me, I've said this before, it's a way in which I keep myself content, and my dog training is my little bit of escapism. So definitely, I think I totally agree with you. If you sign up for a course, it just gives you that little bit of structure. There is a lot of people that are certainly in agility. There's loads and loads of things that you can do if you're an agility person. And obedience, not so much, but there is options out there. If not, just join a group, or get a load of people that you train with. Create a Facebook group amongst yourselves and share videos and share content and motivate each other. I think really, really great advice from Alex. So just firstly, obviously, thank you for your time and your insight and your sharing. I know that you have an infinite amount of knowledge, which I know that you share with your students across the globe. So I really am grateful for that. And obviously, you're a dear friend, so I appreciate any time talking to you. And look after yourself, dude, and stay safe.
I will, for sure. Thank you so much.
Man. No worries. Take care. See you later. Cheers. Bye.
Toodles.